There are loads of interesting facts and history about the use of the word ACME. But what is the intrigue behind ACME becoming more than just a word? It has become an idea, much like Wile E. Coyote, forever in his futile attempts to capture Roadrunner using outrageous products from the fictional ACME Corporation. Let's unravel the twisted truth of ACME. Some quick history. The name ACME comes from the Greek, meaning summit, highest point, extremity, or peak. Fast forward 1500 years to the late 1800s. The Industrial Revolution deserves the name with which historians have tagged it. The advent of industrial development revamped patterns of human settlement, labor, and family life. The size and scope of manufacturing enterprises continued to increase throughout the 19th century as Europe, the United States, and other parts of the world industrialized. The most insidious consequences of the new conditions may have been those affecting the most basic social unit, the family. This decentralized form of employment was called the putting out, or domestic system. Many types of industrial jobs were so demanding that they left little downtime for workers to spend preserving the relational bonds we associate with family life. The beginning of consumerism was well on its way, and no company at that time became more ubiquitous with manufactured convenience than Sears Roebuck. The popular department store chain used the ACME name for many of their in-house brands from their mail-order catalog in the 1800s and early 1900s. One of their first branded products was ACME American Wrought Anvil. Also at that time, the ACME Traffic Signal Company produced the traffic lights in Los Angeles, the city where Warner Brothers was making its cartoons. In the 1920s, alphabetized phone books, like the Yellow Pages, were growing in popularity, resulting in businesses rebranding under a different name in order to get to the top of the list and get seen by more people. ACME was a hugely popular choice for a name at that time, since the letters AC are close to the beginning of the alphabet, and the definition of the word suggests superiority. This renaming effort is still a process that happens even recently. In 1994, Amazon.com did this same type of thing when rebranding from Cadabra to Amazon, attempting to be put closer to the top of alphabetical online browsing indexes, something that was very common at the time. The name ACME began being depicted in films starting in the silent era, such as the 1920 Neighbors with Buster Keaton, the 1922 Grandma's Boy with Harold Lloyd, and continuing with TV series such as in early episodes of I Love Lucy and The Andy Griffith Show, comic strips, and cartoons, especially those made by Warner Brothers. Animator Chuck Jones described the reason ACME was used in cartoons at the time. Since we had to search out our own entertainment, we devised our own fairy stories. If you wanted a bow and arrow, you got a stick. If you wanted to conduct an orchestra, you got a stick. If you wanted a duel, you used a stick. You couldn't go out and buy one. That's where the term ACME came from. Enter the ACME Corporation. For those of you who didn't spend your childhood with your eyes glued to the TV screen watching Saturday morning cartoons, ACME is the name of the fictional company that appeared in almost every Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote cartoon. This company supplied Wile E. Coyote with a never-ending range of ridiculous products that would inevitably fail, generally with hilarious consequences, something which ACME even acknowledges through its slogan, "Quality is our #1 dream." Essentially, meaning the best when in fact the products offered by the company invariably are prone to disaster and often generic. Our society has slowly devolved into a similar trap. Words, motives, and meanings from products and institutions consistently present themselves as the purveyor of truth and the best resource for quality assurance, while offering lackluster outcomes and muddled or stripped down integrity for truth or fact. It also has been falsely claimed to be an acronym, either for a company making everything, American companies make everything, or American company that manufactures everything. This is little more than a happy coincidence when taking into consideration that acronyms didn't appear in the OED or Oxford English Dictionary until 1943. This is a prime example of a backronym, a phrase made up to match the letters and provides even more insight into the American psyche at the time, as manufacturing of products was our crowning achievement in the post-industrial development, when outsourcing began on an international scale away from Western power centers. Cue the 1988 film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The movie's plot is centered on the murder of the corporation's founder, Marvin Acme. Many of the film's scenes involve Acme products, and the film's climax is set in an Acme warehouse. The real story behind the movie is as dark as Judge Doom. Spoiler. The story is really about the collusion of state and local elected officials and the big three car companies conceiving and ultimately implementing the destruction of the American electric streetcar system and the development of the automobile roadways.
Plan of the city council, a construction plan of epic proportions. We are calling it a freeway.
This requires its own video, and if you want to see that one, leave a comment. But one can confidently accuse General Motors and their national city lines of nothing worse than scheming to profit from a trend already in motion. As far as who took away the streetcars, more of the blame lies at the feet of the United States federal government, whose suite of anti-urban post-war policies, from building freeways on a colossal scale to incentivize single-family home ownership, not to mention the local voters who both refused to bring the Los Angeles rail systems under public ownership in the 1920s, and repeatedly shot down rapid transit proposals in favor of improved automotive infrastructure for decades thereafter. And this is where we are today.
Acme is an idea.
Is a contradictory reference to our efforts as humans to accomplish the task of organizing and manufacturing the world around us.
A stamp of approval on the monumental undertakings and abject failures associated with achieving an impossible task.
Usually to the reward of the parties involved and the detriment of the millions of consumers that are affected by the outcome, whether it be motivated by greed or virtue. In 1982, Joey Green wrote Cliffhanger Justice, a fictional account of a product liability lawsuit by Wile E. Coyote against Acme. And it didn't gain much traction until years later Ian Fraser wrote a fictional legal complaint, and now also serves as the inspiration for the upcoming film Coyote vs. Acme. Perhaps there is justice for Coyote, for us. Perhaps now the world makes a little more sense during uneasy times. Or perhaps time is just one giant illusion. You be the judge. My name is Evan, that's Minerva, and you've been watching Mindful Entertaining History. Stay tuned, we got a lot more coming up. Subscribe, like, and share, and we'll see you at the next video. Thank you.